where did I leave off on my tangent, my anecdote?
Walking your dog.
Right. So, oh yeah. So, I when I'm home, I try to walk Sadie at least once a day. Um, like obviously other people walk her too, so that way she gets like an even amount of like 2 or 3 walks a day. But I also uh, do one run a day, usually like
So you go out twice.
usually at night. Yeah, so I'd be going out twice, and I guess it wasn't so much of me thinking about the quarantine, which I probably should have I should have like phrased this as if I've been doing this because of the quarantine, because that would put me in a positive light, because I'd be going out less. But I did combine the two, because I figured, why go out twice and do like a walk, because I pretty much do the same sort of loop, whether it's like it varies a little bit, but it's basically the same loop if I'm going for just a run or if I'm walking Sadie.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like I can kill two birds with one stone.
You can kill, yeah.
Yeah, I can get two birds stoned at once. And so I've been doing that for 3 days now. Like this is my third day in a row. And it's not as easy as just combining the two activities, because Sadie runs hard, and it's not even so much.
Yeah, I know about that part.
Yeah, that she's like, even when you're just walking her, I mean, you know from experience what it's like.
Yeah, she's a puller.
She's like extremely. She's like got a swimmer's body.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's an Adonis of a dog, and she's in better shape than I think any any human I know.
Any other dog. Oh.
Well, I think any human, honestly. Like I feel like she's like, if you took her BMI,
pretty.
I think if you took Sadie's BMI, it might actually be under 1%. Like
BMI,
under 1%
fat index.
Yeah. So I'm doing these walk runs with Sadie,
with the dog. Yeah.
And she's insane. She goes hard, and it's not just like, I'd say that while I'm running, it's not that I go slower than her. Like, I think if you compared me, I'm definitely motivated by her, which I think is a good thing. Like, I think in the end result is I end up
in the long run, it's
beneficial for
positive.
Yeah, it's beneficial for both, because she's getting a lot of energy out, which she needs, and I'm running hard.
Getting exercise.
Yeah, which I also need. But what happens is I'm definitely a little bit propelled forward by her, because I'm like seeing her run so fast, and I don't want to like choke her out, so I end up running harder. But I think overall, if you were to compare me just running by myself and me running with her, I guess it depends on the running style, which is a whole other thing to get into, because sometimes you can go for just like a jog, and sometimes you can go for the sporadic, the sporadic sprint, rest.
Those are the ones that make
rest.
You lose weight.
Yeah, those are like the good ones, but sometimes I just feel like going for just a jog. But if you compared the sprint method that I do just by myself, and then compare it with me running with Sadie, I think I wouldn't be going that much slower, but I might be more motivated to push myself, like do shorter rests, because like she's just like going,
because the dog's just gonna keep pulling.
Yeah, she has nigh infinite energy. So and it's almost unwieldy, because it's like when you're running by yourself, like you have, like just innately, you obviously set the speed and set the and set the tempo of like your legs moving. Yeah. But when she's running, it's like there's all these other factors that you have to maneuver around. Like I don't want to accidentally like get too close and like step on her heel or something like that, or she's pulling like maybe a little bit towards the road, and I have to like yank her back or like gesture her over to the side of the road just in case a car comes. I don't want it to be too close of a call. Or if say there's other dogs or other people there, like she's good around people, but she's just very like curious, so she'll want to like go and sniff them. So like she'll sort of lean her way into either the left or right,
Other
depending
dogs.
on where the people are. And yeah, other dogs
Yeah.
are, that's a whole different story because she's very excited about other dogs, and that's like when she pulls the strongest. And it's not that it looks like she hates other dogs because she's growling, she's pulling, she's jumping up in the air. It looks like she wants to fight.
But that's her fun.
That's
You
what,
know?
yeah, what she's really done. Like, if you actually let her go and she just like went up to her, like she's making this big show and like yelling and pulling and like showing her
Being an
teeth.
overall freak.
Yeah, being an overall freak. But if you let her go, she just like runs over really fast and then stops and then just like sniffs and like basically just makes friends. And like,
Yeah.
given that the other dog is also
Nice.
yeah. So it's weird because it's like, oh, is she good with dogs? Yes and no. She's good. She's good.
She's good on a dog term, bad on a human term.
Yeah, she's good. Like, dogs wouldn't care because I feel like the other dogs also like this like excited puppy creature running up to them, but other humans are like, oh my gosh, this creature is feral. There's a rabid dog on the loose.
This one will actually kill me.
Yeah, there was a lady today that there's this one stretch of path that goes past a bunch of people's backyards, and it's like a little bike path, but people can also go on it. And most of the time, well, now that I've been running with her, I tend to go a little bit earlier, like in the golden hour, like 6:00, 6:15.
Why? So you don't meet people, or?
No, that's earlier than what I would go before. So there's a greater chance of, which is actually interesting, and that actually ties in to my main tangent later on. But we'll get to that when we get there. And that's sort of the main crux of why I originally didn't want to bring up this discussion, to paint me in a slightly
light.
a tinted light, not a bad light, not a good light, but a tinted light. It shows my characteristics, and you know, Po Buddy's nerfed.
Accepted by humans.
What did you say?
Don't worry about me. Just keep going.
Okay. So, but on this like back path today, I just got onto the path from running through the neighborhoods, and that was part of the sprint. And so we were taking the rest as we started on this path. And I see in front of me there's this woman, and I'm guessing like her husband or boyfriend or something, walking side by side, and they don't really like notice me. They're a good like 15 yards ahead at this point. So I'm just aware that that's a thing. And usually I'm used to going this way later at night. So there's not that many people out. There's not that many dogs out. And it's also been getting warmer. So I think people are letting their dogs out more. But whatever the case, there's a lot of dogs out this time. And I actually started to notice that as we
in the morning.
No, this was like at golden hour at
okay.
6:15 at night, 6:15 p.m. And so I noticed this, and after we've been walking for like a minute or something on my rest period, and so we're sort of start to get closer to this couple ahead of us, and I'm about, I'd say at this point, 20 feet behind them. So like in earshot, definitely, like they could hear whatever I was doing. And so this is also the time when I start realizing, oh, there's a lot of dogs out, and Sadie starts to notice that too. And like we passed like one, and she didn't notice, and I sort of wiped a sweat bead from my brow. But then we started to like pass, like getting closer to another one, and her ears perk up, and I know that she sees one.
And you knew that, yeah.
Yeah, and I know she's gonna start pulling. I know she's gonna make a big deal of it. And there's also, I also know that with the trajectory that we're taking, by the time that all of this sort of culminates, I'm going to be like right on this couple.
The new dog.
Yeah. They don't have a dog though. It's just, just those two. They're just sort of like, they're sort of not a part of the story. They're just sort of poor affected bystanders from me and Sadie, and her ferocious need
and her craziness
to go over to other dogs. But what I do is I decide that I'm going to start running again at this point, which would probably be it would be what I would have done anyway. Like if I was just like doing my sprint rest periods, I would have started running at that point, because it was like I had enough rest. I was feeling like I caught my breath a little bit more then, and I could go. But, and it also, I was also thinking like historically it helps to just like get past the dog as quick as possible. Like if you start running with her, she gets excited. She wants to be going.
She also starts running.
Yeah, she wants to be going forward at all times, pretty much. She just wants to be in motion. So it's like a sort of like a magnetic charge where she's like this little bead of mercury, and she's getting like pulled by this force of the dog on one end, but then there's also this magnetic charge of like, I want to run this way with Nico on the other side. And so she's sort of being pulled between the two, and obviously she'll always be like eventually pulled all the way to my side. But there's sort of at this point
onto you.
Yeah, there's sort of this one point of like a little bit of a struggle between that, as she's sort of wanting to be pulled more towards the other dog direction. But so I start running with her, and obviously that it's sort of it needs to get worse before it gets better, because as I bring her to that point of no return, like that precipice of the dog's magnetic force, she really wants to go, and I know we just have to like break out of that orbit and launch past. But it's at that moment of getting that close to it that I start to realize, oh shit, that's also the point where everything else culminates, because that's also where the couple is. So now, and it's like they've definitely started to hear me. I could imagine in their heads, they sort of like, it's in the distance a little bit. They're like, oh, there's like someone like jogging behind us. And then it like starts to get louder. And then there's like this sort of growling animal sound, and like the shake of like of her collar. And then as I get closer, like they hear how hard I'm running, because I'm also having to like pull Sadie away. So like my feet are hitting the pavement. And all of this is happening at like the same point. So it's like they're in the worst position, unfortunately. They're just at the wrong place at the wrong time. And but there's nothing I can do. Like, what can I do? If I stopped, then it would just sort of be like, Sadie has her own momentum that like, that's a little bit unpredictable. So I just want it to be like this controlled, in my mind, the easiest way is this sort of controlled chaos. I'm just sort of like continuing my same vector. Nothing's like changed. That way I can help control the variable of Sadie, which is sort of the really unstable element of this. But the problem is this couple, they don't know what to do. Especially it's really unfortunate for the lady who is on the right side of the man. She's in the way, because that's the dog is on the left side. So I'm not going towards the left fence. I'm going to go more towards like this grassy lawnish area, like this sort of bank on the side of the sidewalk. And so that's unfortunately like around where she is. And she she definitely could have stayed there, and I wouldn't have like hit her or run Sadie and her, but she doesn't know that. She hears this like snarling and this beast behind her, and she hears me like running. She obviously doesn't know what's happening. I don't even think she turned around. I think I just heard, I like visibly, like, you know, in a cartoon you can see like scared lines like pop up from someone's head.
Yeah.
I basically saw that once we got within like a close enough proximity to her. And so she didn't even turn around. She just sort of like realized something's happening and then just sort of starts to like jog a little bit ahead of her husband and and to the left. So like sort of jog a little bit and then into his lane in front of him. But she does it in this sort of like scared waddle that was kind of funny. Which I feel bad because I think she might have thought like, oh, if I don't get out of this dog's way, this dog is gonna like get me. This is like a hound. This is like a hunting dog, and like maybe she thought Sadie was snarling at her or something. But so she does this like waddle out of the way, and then I run past, and this whole time as I'm running past them, I'm like thinking, man, they must think I am like a complete jackass, because in their perspective, like nothing was happening. They're walking down this nice like sunny path, and then also a kid with his dog starts to walk behind them like a good amount of distance away, and then decides out of nowhere to just start sprinting towards them with this ravenous dog and attack them, seemingly. Because they didn't know that I was just taking a rest and then like sprinting
and
again.
Sadie starts pulling.
Yeah, exactly. And so then it's just like all falls apart. So to them, I can imagine they're just like, what the hell is happening? So at this point, I'm just like deciding I can't stop, because that's going to make it even worse. If I just like sprinted, because the majority of what I just described was like getting to them, like that was a majority of like the energy spent. And then like now that I'm past them, it's like I'm almost, after like another 10 feet or another 20 feet, I'm like almost wanting to slow down again. But I'm thinking I can't, there's no way I can slow down, because otherwise it looks like I'm walking, I got a little bit close to them and I decided to run at them and then I stop once I scared them. Yeah. It's like once I got my chuckles, I stopped, and so I decided like
keep staring them down.
yeah, I just need to like push through it, and then like hopefully they'd realize, again, I'm not going to see these people again. I don't know what I'm worried about. You know, it's like either way there's not a real reason.
There's no repercussions.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's like I don't know. But I just like want to save face for whatever reason. So I'm like, okay, I just have to push through it. So that ends up being like the part where I'm running the hardest and the longest, because there's a huge straightaway throughout the rest of that path that they can see me that whole time.
These guys aren't stopping. They're just
no, and it's like it's
waiting for you to happen.
And there's no bend for me to like get out of the way of their eyesight for a good while. So I basically end up running this whole straightaway, which is like the longest part without stopping, and which eventually ends up giving me like a huge cramp, and I had to walk the rest of the way home with Sadie. I run past that, and eventually I'm out of their eyesight enough. I get onto like the road again and turn, and I feel like I can slow down. But that's not really I guess that's a sort of secondary, I don't know what you'd call that, a secondary anecdote. The real tangent that I'm going to tangent into right now, but after this ad. You're a true dog compared to me.
A dog and a mic.
A dog and a microphone. It's a good name. Although it really wouldn't be a good podcast, because what
would the dog say?
Yeah, there's not a lot a dog has to offer in the podcast space.
I mean, you don't know that. Maybe, what if it's like,
What? You think the dog would talk?
I'm trying to think of a talking dog, but I can't seem to think of one.
Yeah, there isn't a talking dog. Did you really think you
What if
could?
a dog, like, haven't you seen that video? A dog presses buttons to react to his owner's stuff.
I haven't. That was actually this day, but I felt like it's in the same tangential space. It's also while I was running Sadie, but it just happened to be yesterday. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. That seems fair game to go into.
What seems fair game?
To talk about something that is also tangentially, it's still related to running Sadie, but just happened to have happened yesterday instead of today. Is that fair?
Cutting it close, but I'll give you a pass this time.
Okay, I'll take the pass. And it actually happens to be about passes, segue, specifically in when, okay, and this is where the tinted light comes in. So I want no judgment, okay? I am telling my story, and that is that. And this is what I did. Yesterday, same situation, different part of the path, more in my neighborhood. I'm running by and I happen to pass on a turn this girl that I don't notice at first.
Ooh.
Already a little too hot and heavy for you, huh? And
I'm going to have to talk to Sakurajima about this.
To who?
Keep going.
So I pass this girl who I didn't notice at first because it was one of these situations where it happened exactly at a turn, which was at a stop sign where there's like a bigger road branching off of my neighborhood. So like this is like a stop sign point. So I always I'm more cautious at this area because I don't want to like run out into that slightly busier road if a car happens to be going by, because I mean, for my safety and for Sadie's safety. So I always like sort of try and like start reeling her in a little bit more beforehand, to slow her down before the actual stop, because I don't want her running a little bit too far ahead and risking anything.
Yeah.
So I'm mainly focused on that. And I'd say at this point, the girl is about at the turn, but on the other side. On the other side of the street, but also on the other street that's turning onto my neighborhood street. And so I haven't noticed her at all until finally I start to look up to the stop sign and like actually start to stop once I've like gathered Sadie's like leash in enough and like made her realize that we've started to slow down. And that's when I look up and I see her, and I don't entirely remember what she was on because I was like what she was writing, because she was writing something, but I guess I was looking elsewhere. But it definitely wasn't a bike. It wasn't, it could have been something like a, like, you know, those hoverboards, quote unquote, but it wasn't that. But it was something like slightly unusual. I don't remember.
It's like one of the new things.
Like, or maybe it was like an electric, like one of those electric sort of razor scooter type things. It was something like that. It wasn't.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't a bike.
I know what you're talking about.
I'm really having trouble. It was definitely it was something out of the ordinary. That's for sure. But
yeah.
And she had like a pink helmet on, so it was something that I'm guessing it was something electric. Yeah, and she was stood up, or if she wasn't completely stood up, it was like on a unicycle, you're stood up, but you're sitting a little bit. Like, it was something almost like that, but I couldn't really get a good look. I was looking at her, but I was looking elsewhere because that's when I noticed.
So she was like in your peripheral vision?
No, at this point I had fully turned. I was looking at her, but I noticed that she was really pretty. So I was looking at her face.
Oh.
And that's why I know that she had a pink helmet on. And like this sort of like dirty blonde hair, like sort of down to the chin, At least maybe she had it like tied up with the helmet or something. I don't know, but that's why I didn't see. I can't remember apparently what she was actually riding, some sort of scooter or something like that.
You were just so enticed by her.
Again, not entirely. I'm not.
Let's be real.
Just like curious, like, oh, who is this? Who are hello? Like, you know, that's normal.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You seem to be you're slowly devolving into more and more immature, childish
I'm sorry,
rebuttal
it's part
to
of my
me.
nature.
It's part of your nature. I suggest. How about we see? This is what I was worried about because I think
This is why we need a mediator.
we need a mediator, and I think you should be a little bit not more on my side, but I think you should be devil's advocate within reason. I think that's like a good title for the
So
other
like a little
person.
raunchy, but not too raunchy.
I guess if that's what you're gonna take away from it, devil's advocate within that's DAWR.
W.
You're the
I'm a dar.
So I noticed this, and this is the part that I actually regret the most. And I think this is what put, like, if it was just that, it would have been like a nice, like an interesting, like, oh,
It would have just been a normal encounter. You saw a chick.
Yeah, like I guess it's a little bit more. I guess it piqued my curiosity a little bit more personally because I usually know all the people in my neighborhood, like not personally, but I know like, oh,
you know of the people.
Yeah, like because you walk around and you see these people like
Yeah.
after living here for a certain amount of time. So I know like
you just recognize them.
I just happen to know that there is not necessarily my age that like that I can think of any what I would call potential partners. Not in an
okay.
That's
buddy.
a very. I feel like I tried to par that down into a very scientific.
That was very vulgar of me.
A very scientific, a very sterile term. Basically, like it's either I have neighbors that are like grandparents or like.
Or you have neighbors that are kids. Families
with like a 7-year-old, something like that. So I'm like, whoa, like who is this girl? Like this is interesting to me.
I haven't seen her before.
So that's also like a part of what piqued my interest. But even still, like this probably would have been just like I walked past, like think about it for like a second, but then continue with the run. But what happens was I'm flustered in multiple ways. First of all, I'm struggling with this wild beast trying to get her to stop. And also being pulled, much like Sadie with the dog. See, it all comes full circle. Much
You're
like,
attracted to the girl.
Exactly. By the magnetic force, literal like attraction to the girl. And also to like my focus is also being pulled towards Sadie, who is out of control at all times. It's just her nature. So there's both of that. So I have both hands on the leash at that point too. And so all of that culminates in when I look up for a second time, because I sort of did almost a double take after making sure that Sadie was okay. I look back up at her and she smiles and waves at me. And I know I've had a history with smiling. We're not going to go into that. I'll hear none of it.
When you were more naive.
I'll hear none of it. But
don't worry.
I feel like that's like I don't know. You tell me. That seems like a little bit like not forward in any way necessarily, but it's not like I'm going past every person I see on the street
smiling and
waving to them. Like that's I've never done that, and that actually hasn't happened to me during any of my runs. But that definitely like pushes it a little bit higher. Like all of these factors are starting to culminate which like
into
pushes it
this
a
one
little bit
event.
higher. So I see that, but it's almost like that. It's almost like this split second thing because again, I'm being like pulled between like looking over at her and Sadie, and so like as I'm realizing like it's entering, the photons entered my eyes and my brain is like firing the realization of what just happened. I'm already like mid turn looking back towards Sadie, physically like halting her because that's like the point where it's like, okay, we definitely need to be at a rest right now. So
Yeah.
I was pulled away, and it's like at that point I was like, I knew that I was already in motion, turning around and pulling Sadie to a stop. I know that I can't turn back. I can't look back over and wave. I mean, I probably could have, honestly. I probably could have,
You
but
overthought it.
I mean, this is a turgid tangent. In my mind, it's like if someone,
You had no option.
yeah, like imagine if someone, you walk down the street, someone waves at you and you look away and look back and wave. Like it's it's weird. It's like almost like, oh, that's a little forced or like a little too much. Like you're you're going for it a little bit. So
You should have gone for it.
I guess I should have. Who knows? I don't even know. Again, this is the first time I've seen this person, so I mean, this could have just been like.
Maybe she thought she recognized you or something.
You're saying that's a possibility of why
That's a possibility.
she waved at me?
Why she waved at you.
I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty recognizable, especially at this point with like the beard. She could be someone who was just coming in from not out of town, but like I don't know, she has this weird contraption she rides around on, and maybe she was from 3 neighborhoods over, and that's why I never see her. I don't know, but I definitely know that I've never seen her before, and so after I've like realized my mistake or like made my decision that I'm not going to turn around and say hi, I don't turn around again. I just want to like, I felt like
you are now focused.
Yeah, I felt like I missed the chance. The awkward factor would be too high. Like I just got to be like, forward, get forward. So I am continuing the run from that point. And now I get to the point where in the last anecdote, I got the cramp, like where I got back onto the main street after that nice little bike path area. And that's pretty close to my house. It's like 1 block away. So I'm running towards my house, and this is my pivotal decision, which is the point. None of this, I don't think, has painted me in a bad light. This is fine, right? Or in any light.
Nothing out of the ordinary. Yeah.
Nothing out of the ordinary. This may be a turning. I don't think it's bad. It may be a slight turning point in my my active choices. Like they start, like a lot of this so far has sort of just been cause and effect and like happenstance, but this was definitely an active choice that I made. So for better or for worse, I think it's pretty neutral just because there's no ill intent. But as I'm starting to approach the house, I'm thinking, I missed my chance and I regret it. I don't want to have missed that chance. I wonder if she still happens to be like running around, if like where necessarily she lives. Not that I want to know where she lives. I just like I'm thinking these things.
You're digging yourself into a hole.
I'm just because this is where I'm processing all this stuff. Like, oh, I haven't seen her before. Like, is she just from a different neighborhood? Like, happened to ride through here? Like, I don't know. Maybe she's still out, and I could maybe get that like wave and be like, aha, oh, there you are again. I saw your wave last time. Here's my wave. Like, I don't know. Could be a cool moment. You're laughing. This is.
You just keep digging yourself deeper, dude.
Oh, that part is not deeper. To wave.
No, but like going backtracking on it is kind of.
I'm not backtrack. I'm, as far as anyone's concerned, I'm just continuing. I've made my loop, you know. I'm just like doing my rounds. Like I don't it's not like I'm seeking her out. I'm just like hoping like, oh, if I run back a little bit like towards the way where
Perchance you could see her again.
yeah, perchance our paths cross yet again. That did not happen. But basically I ended up just I just did decide to do it. I That's what I was like thinking. And
You went back. Okay.
I didn't go back all the way. I took a little bit because I was thinking like, okay, I did think about like which direction she was heading, and so instead of going back to where she was, I went back to like a little bit further down to where I saw her to maybe like, oh, she'd have continued down this way.
She'd have, yeah.
I don't know, but I went a little bit deeper into the neighborhood in that direction, and then just basically made a turn. And as I approached the point where I could like see down the street where I originally like ran into that stop sign, I decided, okay, I'm getting very tired at this point. I've almost doubled my normal run, and Sadie is definitely getting tired. Like she's definitely like I feel bad. She's like slowing down. She doesn't want to run as much anymore. So I decide like, okay, we're just gonna stop here at the next turn, walk all the way back home. That's the. I guess it's a pretty. It's
Okay,
a pretty.
so it wasn't bad.
No, I mean,
You didn't make yourself look awkward.
Did you expect?
I thought
me,
like something would happen. Yeah.
You expected me to like
Make a
break
fool
into
of
her
yourself.
house or something? Like, what are you? I feel like you have such this negative interpretation of me.
No. No. Like I thought it would just be really awkward. You'd see her again, something like that.
I think if I did, it wouldn't have been awkward. I think it would have been neutral to.
I mean, it's not good. It's just like.
Well, it's basically the end of the story is I walked home and was a little bit sad of myself.
you actually went to do that.
I guess I wasn't sad that I did that, because that's a very in character thing for me to do, to put the extra.
It's not right.
It's not. I don't think it's not right. Again, the way I view it is like completely just like a foolishly hopeful, like romantic gesture sort of thing. Like not. I don't think it's bad in any way. I don't think I did something wrong. Because
you were able to bypass creepy because nothing ended up happening.
the most I was like hoping was literally just to wave, like just my chance to wave back. Like that's it. And then maybe the next time I go out for a run, we like wave again. It's like this funny thing. And then the third time we like stop and like have a laugh about it. And then the fourth time, kiss.
You're thinking really deep. Okay.
First date, okay, second date.
Now that's creepy.
I'm planning out my outfits for
future life with the unknown.
God, every time I go for a run, now I bring a ring in my pocket. So that's my story.
Wasn't much of a story this time.
I mean, I guess some stuff happened afterwards. Would you want me to go into that? I feel like it was kind of like...
I guess you could say that.
Okay, well, you know, those in glass houses shan't throw stones. Let's see what you have.
I don't have much this time.
This time, huh? Okay.
I had an epiphany. It's not a good one, right? So, I mean, I've been telling you this, and I don't think any of you guys believe me. But, you know, I stopped watching anime back when we started college. I know you guys don't believe me, but, like, I truly, like, I watched a lot of anime in high school, and I wasn't shy about it.
For the record, I 100% thought that, like, whenever you would mention, like, oh, I've stopped watching anime, I always thought that was a joke. I never in a million, like...
No, I actually stopped. That was
okay. Okay.
So, like, I think I watched, like, one season, and it was because my Korean friend told... It's always these Koreans telling me to do stuff.
Wow.
I was... Like, you know this, I was a huge weeb back in high school. And I have a few secrets regarding me being a weeb there and how it ties into today, actually.
Oh, really?
This morning.
Wow. Deep cut.
I had I had like my second self in high school. I was,
Uh,
as the Japanese say, a chuni.
no, okay, you're gonna have to like very much go into this because first of all, second self,
Well,
that sounds like some like Buddhist spiritualism to
so
me.
it's like there's the me where I act towards you, right? But
Right?
then there's the me when I'm alone, and
Oh no.
I'm like a human hater, right? And I'm like the world's against me. My idea is that like I was born to be a depressed human.
Is this a
I was
real
born.
thing or is this like a character that like you put
It's a
on for
character that I
fun?
thought I was.
You okay, wait.
This was like in the
This isn't for
beginning.
fun. This is just like
This isn't for fun.
this
This
is
is
like
like me being a creep.
this is almost like what kids like what teenagers go through when
Yeah,
they're like
yeah. But I thought I was like an anime character, basically.
okay, right.
It's like I went through normal puberty. I
Yeah.
added a Japanese twist.
You had a second Japanese puberty that's a little bit delayed.
And actually, it's also on the subject of delayed release. There's this one show in particular that basically the whole premise was like this dude, he's like a creep. But like he does things to help people. But he missed like the first month of school because he got hit by a car saving a dog.
Oh wow.
So like he comes back to school, no one cares about him, and because he's already antisocial, he can't find friends.
He's
He's
missed
just
the
like a
boat.
really, yeah, he's a really dark character. And so like it goes into like this whole story. He joins this club. There's this chick, and they like work together to make people's lives better. Whatever. And so I was like, back then I watched the show, and I was like, hold up, that's me. I am this guy. I just need to find the girl.
Oh man. Is this the
Now you guys didn't
origin?
know this.
Is this the origin of the second self?
Yeah, of my second self. But the second self is more of a side character for like what happened today.
Okay.
And so like I finished the show, I think back in 2015, right? I find out author's disappeared. Author's like working on something else. He hasn't finished the story yet. But like I am completely invested in the characters. I literally think I am the guy. If I were in an anime, I am that guy. The
Yeah.
only problem is my story isn't finished.
Wow. That's interesting.
And so this is the embarrassing part. I hid this. I don't know if people figured out
Oh
or not,
no.
just like going through my computer or something, but I was so invested in the story. I read fan fictions. It was like I was a drunk. I was an alcoholic trying to get my fix, regardless of how I got it. I was like selling myself to read fan fiction about this anime. That's how invested I was.
I mean, to be frank, I feel like we've all been there.
Had
Maybe
some,
maybe
yeah.
not specifically with like a show or something and like being but sort of like something like relatively similar where it's like
I just feel like it's a little different when it's an anime show and you're
yeah.
reading fan fiction about the romance and the story.
Do you mean it's different like in terms of perception or like actually
In
different
terms of
like
perception.
okay, so you
In
don't
terms
think
of
there's
perception.
you don't think there's an actual difference
I think
like
it's pretty similar, but
like it can't hit
I was on-
harder somehow or
I was on fanfiction.net reading stories.
wow. Yeah, it's a pretty
I've gone pretty far down the deep end.
for being an unironic like hobby basically at this point.
I'm just trying to like outline how important that show was to me. And to this day, I still think it's a good show. Which leads to now. Last season, through a series of unfortunate events, I have started watching anime again. Not on my own accord.
Well,
'Cause
okay. It doesn't have to be unfortunate, right?
it is fairly unfortunate. I do not want to waste my life watching anime.
Okay. I guess for maybe your personality type, it seems like it's an addictive
It's
trait.
for me because of my past.
Yeah.
I believe it's unfortunate.
Okay.
I don't think it's unfortunate for other people, just for me.
Yeah, it's
You
a
know.
you issue.
Yeah. So my roommate watches. He watches quite a few shows. Not as much as I did back then, but he's a pretty deep weeb.
Right. It's like the deep web.
Yeah. So like there's a few shows like I've read the manga, So I'm like, all right, I remember this from back then. I'll just watch it with you, I guess, because like I kind of know what's going on. You need someone to talk to. Like it's nice to talk to people about shows.
Yeah.
And so one day, just like usual, because like we both play like the same games too. So sometimes we're just playing games together. And then so one day I go in there and he's watching his anime as usual. I look at the screen. Really familiar show is on there.
Oh no.
And he was like, "Oh yeah, I saw this show on the site and I thought it looked interesting because it had a high rating." And I was like, "Oh my god, dude, you don't understand what this show meant to me."
This is my life.
I gave him the whole spiel. Yeah, that show was my life. I thought I was the guy. I thought I had like the guy has like a little thing in his hair. I thought I was that guy. I was bald at the time.
Wait, what did you So- Did you actually think that I mean, you didn't actually think that
I tried to mimic the person out. I tried to mimic being edgy.
But there's like a difference between like I've definitely like watched shows and then realized like, oh, I'm like speaking like that like I'm not trying to, but just like naturally.
Yeah.
You didn't actually think like, oh, I might be like an embodiment.
No. I didn't. I wasn't like, oh, now I just have to find the chick to work with.
Yeah, you just thought like it represented almost like it was such a
represented
close...
my ideas.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching it with him too because I enjoy the show. I still enjoy it. I still think it's a good show. It's got a good premise. It's got like good character development. Like in its whole, it is a pretty good show. And I'm trying not to get too invested in it again. So here's the thing. Because of how good that show is, it's one of the few shows that I said, if the last season does come out, I'm watching it. So I've been waiting since 2014.
Wow.
For the third season to come out. November 2019. Out of the blue. Like I know the guys finished the story. I like read a summary of the novel. I like know how it ends, but like it's a little different knowing what happens on the show compared to like what you read in the story. Like the show gives you an automatic representation, right?
Yeah.
And so November 2019 promotional video comes out for the show, and I'm like, hold up, I haven't seen this in 6 years. I click on it, hits me like a fucking season 3 coming out April 2020.
Woof.
Dude, I was getting dragged back in.
You felt the pull?
I felt the pull.
Wow.
And I am still feeling the pull because up until 2 days ago, I was preparing to watch this show because again, I'm not going to be like back then where I was like, oh, I am this dude. I'm like, I want to finish a good show.
Yeah, you know that you have to mentally prepare. You want to finish it, but you know like what it does and you want to be ready.
I need the closure. Here's where my what happened today and what scares me. 2 days ago, my roommate sends me a picture, a screenshot from Reddit. The show has been indefinitely delayed. You got to know what it's like for me. I've already been waiting 6 years for this closure, only for it to be delayed again. It was supposed to be showing today. The episode was supposed to come out today, but it never did.
So this is on your mind. This day is marked.
It was on my mind. Yes. I was like, I'm setting aside 30 minutes. I'm watching this. Here's the scary part of it. I had a dream last night. My brain was able to formulate an entire episode of the show based on the ending of the second season, building into the third season. And in my dream, I watched that whole episode and I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Oh no, I feel like I need to send you like a gift basket or something. I feel like you're a broken baby.
I am a broken man right now, and it's one of the few things I've been thinking about today.
I've had dreams where I like composed a song, or maybe it wasn't necessarily I who composed it, but like it was maybe a song that was like occurring in something that I was like watching in the dream, for example. And I know that obviously I composed it because it was a new piece of music, but it was from my brain. So even if I didn't compose it in the dream, I composed it. And that feeling of like, or like, oh, I created this great song. And then you wake up maybe, and usually you can't remember it. Or even if you could, it's like, it's sort of impossible to
You just
recreate.
remember you had the dream. You know what the dream was about.
Yeah, you have that feeling, that ache.
I remember explicitly thinking of my dream. I thought this was delayed,
And then you're happy about it.
and then I was happy. I watched the show. It was pretty nice.
Was it? Did you create a good arc first
I think
episode?
I think it's like me like semi knowing what happened because it's based on a novel. So it's like me. I kind of know what's going on already. I just want to watch the show because it's a little different watching the show. I think my brain constructed an episode based on like what I already kind of know, and then it created a pretty good episode as like a pilot episode for season 3. And how apparently subconsciously excited I am for when season 3 finally comes out.
Did the delay happen before your dream, so you knew about it beforehand?
I knew about the delay.
Yeah, it was so subconscious that it's like it was set in motion, like it almost like an alarm clock in your brain.
On the topic of dreams, I had a really interesting dream.
To last night?
I mean, this one's going to be really short. It's just about my dream.
Was that after? Because wait, your dream.
No, my dream about the show was this morning. This is about a dream I had yesterday. I slept at like 2, but I woke up at 6 for a class. So I was like, okay, I'm tired as all hell. I'm just going to crash.
Oh yeah, I've done that.
Yeah. In my dream, I woke up and I was like, okay, I'm going to get up. I got up in my dream and then I woke up again. And then apparently I had a dream of me waking up, of me waking up, of me waking up 10 times.
Woof. Was it like the same?
It was different iterations of me waking up every time.
But like you were almost spending the same amount of time. It wasn't like repeatedly like, and you keep like trying to wake up.
No, I kept trying to wake up, but then I would wake up and then I think it's real. And then I'd wake up again.
But you kept doing it like repeated, like in a row, like seconds within each other almost.
Not seconds. It'd probably be like a minute. But like a dream minute is like a real life half an hour.
Yeah. When you would wake up in the dream and you'd like
I would be like
up,
really frantic and stuff. I would like try and push myself up. I wouldn't be able to physically get up, but I would wake up and then I'd like use all my force to try and wake myself up.
Jesus.
And then like me, I think as soon as I got up, it triggered me waking up again.
Bear, you know what I think is happening? I think your second self is real. And he's been suppressed since 2014 when you
last watched episode 12.
Yeah, when you relieved him of duty, you sort of like pushed him back down. And then just knowing that this show was coming back, he's like almost trying to get out. And that whole moment of you repeatedly waking up and almost not being able to, and like being pushed back into the dream, that was him taking control of like the true Bear.
Well, I think today is going to be the ultimate day where we see what happened.
You mean your dream tonight?
Yeah, my dream tonight. I really hope I don't dream about the show. I don't think I can take much more of that. I might have to wipe my memory if I dream about it again.
Now, do you know how to do that?
I could try. I mean, I already have like dementia. I already can't separate reality from fiction. So,
well, yeah, there's the whole separating reality from fiction, but also separating reality from dreams. Because I guess you've also had the problem in the past where you're like, I'm not sure if this happened or if I just dreamed, and that's like most of your memories might be dreams.
Yeah, it's just like you think about my memories, and you're like, that's so bizarre. That can't realistically have happened, but I remember it so vividly.
Yeah, I guess most people can pretty much like determine if you remember it, you remember waking up from the dream, so you know that it was a dream. I guess that's the disconnection for most people.
But yeah, that's my story.
And I guess that means that's just something you'll have to work on.
I was so sad when I woke up.
Woof.